Today we're catching some sun and waves with Darryl, a QHS member whose life is as vibrant and refreshing as a seaside breeze.
My name is Darryl, and I've been in QHS now for since April 2022, my wife and I guess we're called early adopters. I turned 74 in September, so I feel pretty good. I take a lot of supplements. Been in network marketing for a number of years with nutritional products, and I attribute a lot of that to keeping my health the way it is. And with QHS, the timing was perfect when I saw this. So we're just happy to be here. But tell you a little about my story. My brother and I, we had, mom and dad. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. Dad was a barber. Started out as a barber. Then later on he sold his barber shop and went into salesmanship and did sales and that sort of thing. So I learned a lot of things from my dad. He was a tinkerer, so he tinkered in the garage, and Dave and I would go in, my brother and I would go in and watch and observe, and we were always tinkering also. We grew up in the 50s and 60s. The family was always together. In fact, Dad would go out and buy old wooden boats, and it's pretty interesting. He'd go out and buy these old junk wooden boats, and he'd redo them, and then he'd go find the biggest motor he could put on it, so we'd go to the lake so we could water ski. But he'd take the boat out with the engines and go as fast as he could go, and then just whip it 90 degrees, and if the boat wouldn't flip over, then he would put our family in it, and that was our boat for a while until he had to find something else, So that's the kind of guy he was. He was an incredible person. We loved him dearly. But anyway, we lived in Midwest, grew up on the west side of Indianapolis, and was there a number of years until we moved down here. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But anyway, the Indianapolis has the Indianapolis 500, and it has Indianapolis Raceway Park, which is a drag strip, and we went to all those events. We had a YMCA. My brother and I lived at the YMCA. We'd ride our bicycles. We were only about a mile from the YMCA, and we would spend about all day there. That was kind of cool. During the Christmas times, we love Christmas. Dave and I love Christmas because that's toy day, and we'd get cars and trucks and all kinds of things for Christmas, and that was kind of cool. In fact, the Tonka toys, they're now plastic and so forth, but mine are metal. And Mom kept them up in the attic, or they'd probably been gone, but I pulled them behind my bicycle and that sort of thing. But I have them today in my office. They're up on the shelf. All those toys that you see in that picture at Christmas time are in my office here at home. So that's another kind of cool thing that Mom helped me out on, because they'd have probably been gone had she not put those in the attic and kind of hid them, But anyway, Dave and I, we did the boy things. There was no girls in our family, so we just played boys, and we lived on a dead-end road. Had a barricade there, and then behind our property, it was just single house with a property, pretty big property. Then it went down a hill, and there was a railroad track about 40 feet deep, so the sound would go up and over our house. We never really heard the trains as much, but we would play back in that area. We wouldn't play on the railroad tracks, of course. That was a no-no. Mom kept us away from there. But on that property back there, not our property, on that property, we dug a great big area, probably 3 foot deep, and I got some old plywood and put plywood. That was our hideout, and put air holes with tin cans so we could breathe and that sort of thing. That was our hideout. So we had all the neighborhood kids come down, and we would play, things, Army and all kinds of things in that hideout. So that was pretty cool. We also had a junkyard, not a junkyard like today you think of. The junkyard of yesterday, they would bring in dryers, washers, they'd bring in refrigerators, and they'd just stack them up, just piles of that stuff everywhere. Well, this junkyard was about 5 miles from our house. So what we would do is we'd ride our bicycles over, and we'd just get, buy a bunch of junk. And this woman that lived in this little trailer thing there, she had no teeth, great gal. We'd go in there, and everything we bought, it cost $0.25. Didn't matter what it was, whether it was this big or this big, it was $0.25. I said, well, how much is this? She'd say, well, it's only $0.25. So we'd give her $0.25 and strap it on her bicycle and go home. So what we did is back then they had wooden ironing boards. Now they're metal, but they had wooden ironing boards. So we would make push carts out of these wooden ironing boards. And then all the kids in the neighborhood, we'd run around the neighborhood and push each other on these things. Well, a little bit older, as we got older, we saw lawnmowers back there. So horizontal engines, with the real type mower. And so we'd start buying these horizontal engines for $0.25. And we'd get those, and then we'd get in the dryers and yank these big pulleys off and attach them to the wheels. And of course, there was no brakes, so it's kind of dangerous, but we'd put a tube before and we'd guide it with our feet and these wooden ironing boards. And we did all that just boy stuff, it's just a lot of fun. And we got into models, we got into model rocketry, did a lot of that, put cherry bombs on them, they'd go up, and then the afterburner would come down, they'd be close to the ground, they'd blow up and that sort of thing. BB guns and bows and arrows and all that kind of stuff. But got into models, model cars. I'll never forget, the hobby shop was right next to Dad's barber shop. He's a barber. And we'd go in there all the time. We'd go down and see Dad, so we'd go in the hobby shop, and look at models and buy models. Well, they had a contest. This is when I was 12 years old. They had a contest, model car contest, and it was Revel. And you've heard, maybe some of you people have heard of Revel. But Revel had a custom car contest. It was the first annual custom car contest. And you build your car, you take to the hobby shop, you won that, then they would ship it off to California. And so guess what? I won. I built this Lincoln Continental and put corduroy on the seats, and I took thread and made plug wires for it and just spiced it up, painted the muffler, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of neat. But anyway, I won the local contest, and they sent it off to California. And about 3 weeks later, they called Mom, and she says hello, and it was a hobby shop, and says, well, Darryl's won first place in junior division. I've got a trophy. It's about 1.5 feet high. Still have it, but it's the first annual. And I've looked on the internet trying to find one. I can't find one, but in Boy's Life, that was a magazine back then, they had the whole ad, had the trophy in there, the senior trophy and the junior, and I won that dang trophy, but I never got my car back. So that was disappointing. But anyway, I don't know what happened to that car, but it's gone, but I've got the trophy. So that was kind of cool. Through life, growing up, we had some friends down the street that were going to move out in the country. They bought several acres, and I was friends with all of them. There was two girls and a boy. I was friends with all of them, and so I would go out there to the property, and while their parents were out there, discussing the house and the barn and that, when they were building it and all that, we'd be in the creek throwing rocks. So I was in the 5th grade, and I was standing behind this gal, my friend, okay, and we were they were about that big around, I guess, and we were throwing rocks and trying to make them skip and all that kind of stuff. Well, I was standing right behind her, and she took a big rock and pulled it back like that. Well, it had that moss on it, slipped out of her hand and hit me right here. Knocked 2 teeth out. That's when I was 5th grade. Knocked 2 teeth out, and it was pretty. It hurt, right? So anyway, they took me to Mom and Dad. We went to the dentist, and he said, "Oh yeah, your front tooth, the nerve is dangling," and so they pulled that tooth. So I've this whole side of my mouth, there's 3 teeth missing, and I've had a partial plate. I've had false partial plate there since the 5th grade. I still have it, and so that's what I'm looking forward to, Tracy, is getting some teeth, because that's what we understand, But that'll be pretty cool. So I have to do that. But lived all my life like that with that partial in my mouth. In fact, was I in the 5th grade, the math teacher, she was a mean old woman, and she made fun of me because I couldn't hardly talk. I was lisping, and so she's in front of the whole class. She's up there, and she started lisping, making fun of me. So she was a meanie. But anyway, you run into some of those people. So that was basically growing up and being at the YMCA when I was 9 years old. My brother and I both. My brother joined a swim team. We had a coach there from Rhode Island, great guy, and he saw me one day walking around the gym, and he says, "Hey," you need to come out for the swim team. So I said, "Okay." He said, "Your brother's on a swim team. You need to come out for a swim team." So I did, and started swimming when I was 9 years old. Dave was 3 years older than me. So we both swam from the time we were 8, 9, 10, all the way through college. And we swam AAU, amateur athletics. We swam all over the Midwest. We became very, very well-known swimmers. I was a backstroker and a freestyler, and he was a backstroker. We were both backstrokers. And so that was kind of cool because, with our family being closely knit, they knew the Cooper boys, okay? The people in the swimming arena knew the Cooper boys. So that was very, very good. And so being in high school, at that time, my brother went to Indiana State University on a full ride for swimming. And all the colleges at that time, they weren't looking at AAU swimmers, they were looking at high school swimmers. There was 53 teams in Indiana at that time. And we didn't have a swim team, although we were the 3rd largest high school in Indiana. And so I went to the athletic director who partied with my mom and dad a lot. And he says, I said, "We need a swim team here. We don't have a pool, but we can swim over at the YMCA." So he said, "Go find me a coach." So I went to swim practice after school that night, and I said, "Bill," my coach, I said, "You need to go over and talk to the athletic director, and he'll hire you, and you can be the high school swimming coach, and we'll have a swimming coach next year." And so when I was a junior, we had a swim team, and senior, we had a swim team. Well, I got second in the state 2 years in a row, high school in Indiana, and I started the swim team in our high school. That's pretty cool, So I credit myself. That's pretty cool that we did that. But after high school, I had several colleges offer me full scholarships just because they wanted me as a backstroker and a freestyler. And there was several companies that come visited the house and so forth. But the swim coach in the Indiana State course, he wanted me because of my brother and that sort of thing. So I remember at the state meet when I was a senior, there were several coaches there, observing. And after I got done swimming, he caught me in the hallway, the coach at Indiana State, and he says, "Darryl," he says, "are you going to swim for me or not?" And I said, "Well, I'm really thinking about it." And I thought, my brother's there, I might as well go swim for him, So I said, "Well, yeah, I will." Well, he just pulls out his back pocket the contract, says, "Sign here." So he made me sign right there after I got done at the state meet in high school. I signed the papers to come to Indiana State the next year. So we did, and swam for 4 years at Indiana State, and that was a lot of fun because again, the Cooper boys are back together. That was kind of cool. So I received a teaching degree in industrial arts education, and I got my physical education minor. And so that was what I did. And after I graduated, I actually did my student teaching in Fort Lauderdale, which was pretty cool because my best friend from 7th grade was going to school. He had a basketball scholarship, Florida Atlantic University. So he says, "Come down here," he says. And so we did our student teaching in Fort Lauderdale. That was unbelievable. And so I got a job in Fort Lauderdale. They hired me. They said, you need to stay here. So that was kind of cool. And then my best friend, who was my printing teacher at my old high school that I went to, he says, "Darryl, there's an industrial arts opening here at Ben Davis." He says, "It's a wood shop and auto shop." my high school teacher at Ben Davis, where I went, he says, you need to come here and teach. And I said, well, you're probably right. Okay, so I did. And so the first day when I reported for new orientation teachers, the other teachers were there, and I just had those, they had me in high school 4 years earlier, right? So they said, what are you doing here, you know? And I said, I'm teaching. And they go, you're kidding me. But anyway, we got along fine, and it was good. Taught there 4 years, and then there were some things happening in my life, and I was looking to get out of teaching, make a little more money, that sort of thing. But the great thing was, Linda and I started teaching, and in December of that year, the first year I was teaching, a friend of hers, which was a friend of mine, her best friend, which is a friend of mine, I knew her through high school. I didn't know Linda, but she set us up on a blind date. And Linda was a sophomore at IU, Indiana University at that time. And her friend had wanted to get us together a year before, and I said, no, I don't do that. So anyway, she had a boyfriend and all that stuff. Well, we met and hit it off, and that was amazing. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was darn close. And so we met in December, and the following October, we got married. So that was something, I mean, and we've been married 50 years. We just had our 50th on Saturday with our kids and so forth. So that's kind of cool. She taught for 31 years. She became a teacher. She finished her college and became a teacher. She taught for 31 years in the same township that I was teaching in for 15 years. But I got into other things, different businesses and so forth. So what we did is once she stopped teaching and she was retired at that time, you know, I was tired of cold weather. It's kind of chilly in Indiana in the wintertime. So I decided, her sister lived in Lower Alabama. They call it LA. It's not LA, it's LA, Lower Alabama. That's what I've been told. But anyway, we'd visited 4 years before, and it's beautiful down here. It's got a beautiful beach. So we decided to move and sold our house in 4 days. I couldn't believe that. Put it up for sale 4 days, and we moved to Lower Alabama, 5 miles from the water, the Gulf of America. Okay, so it's really pretty here. But anyway, you know, with teaching and being around all those different areas that I taught, especially auto shop, I love being around cars. I love tinkering with cars and so forth. So in 1999, I bought a 1939 Chevrolet, a Master Deluxe 4-door, and it was in pretty bad shape. And so what I did is I just took the whole thing apart, redid the whole thing. I built a paint booth. I put a 350 Chevy engine in it and a turbo hydromatic transmission, rear end, Mustang 2 front end. I've been driving it for 20 some years, but that's my hobby. Okay, that's what I want to do. That's my hobby. And I've got a little Ford F-150 I just finished, 4-wheel drive, stick, and 302. And some of you people that know cars, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's my hobby. So that's pretty cool. It took me 5 years to build that car, and I think you'll see a picture of that car. But you know, I've always been looking for opportunity. I've always looked for opportunity, and you know, started building homes. I started remodeling. Had a tree moving business. I had a stump cutting business. I got into network marketing. I've been in network marketing just numbers of years. And basically because, you know, I wanted to be my own boss. So nobody's got their thumb on me, okay? And being your own boss, doing what you want to do, controlling your own life. And so I've been teaching that for years. And my son, at 24, he was working for a guy making $10 an hour in a mower shop. And I said, do you like what you're doing? And he said, yeah. I said, great, I'm gonna find you a mower shop and we're gonna buy one. I'm gonna put you in business. So I did that. And Lynn and I found a mower shop there in Indianapolis. We bought it, moved it to Speedway, Indiana. He worked there for 3 years, and I bought myself a job because I had to help him, but that was okay. Got him started, and then we moved it 16 miles west to a little town called Danville, and he's been there all this time, 20-some years. He just closed it. He's wealthy. He's 44, and he's got a whole life in front of him. He's got a beautiful wife, and they decided just to close the building and do something else. So that's pretty cool, you know, but he wouldn't have been able to do that working for somebody else. And that's what I love teaching about, being your own boss, doing it yourself. You know, some people love their job, and that's great, but some people want to look for other things, and I was one of those people that wanted to look for other things, and we've done that. So, you know, I love to be a coach. I love helping people, being positive and have a can-do attitude. That's what we're all about, and I know Quantum is like that too. QHS is exactly like that. I hear it all the time. It's just, you know, we're just so blessed to be here. We've been in the nutritional business, Lynn and I, for over 40 years. You know, it's for natural health, and I'd rather take supplements than meds. That's the bottom line. Take supplements, not meds, okay? I enjoy biking. I play pickleball, played pickleball today. Going to the beach, love the beach. That's a lot of fun, you know, and all the things around the beach. Working in my shop. And I just built a 30 by 50 shop, and you know, being a sickness, I know it's a sickness about these car things, but I built a old Texaco station inside my barn, inside my shop, and that's my office. Okay, that's where I've got my Tonka toys and all the things that I've collected over the years. That's my fun spot, you know. So everybody's got to have one of those, but you can probably see that in the pictures. QHS couldn't have been better timing. It came out the perfect. I mean, this is fantastic. I've been very, very blessed in my life. I don't have a lot of health issues. I've never had a lot of health issues. I've got some spots on me, you know, that I'd like to take care of. Although the QT wave, I had a growth on my shoulder here that was probably 1 inch by 1/2 inch, and I don't know if it's a wart or it's some kind of growth, right? And it stuck out about 1/4 inch. Been there for years and years. Well, after wearing the QT wave, it's gone. And you know, I'd get out of bed because I'm 74. I'd get out of bed and start walking, and my knees would pop, or my feet would pop, and that sort of thing. I don't know what that is, but it didn't hurt, but it just popped. Well, it stopped popping. So that's a good thing, I guess, because it didn't pop when I was younger, right? Anyway, you know, we just love being here with Tracy, being the health coach and the healthy lifestyle she teaches. Dr. Ruby, Linda was on all those calls when they were doing the cooking thing, and we've got a lot of recipes from that. Or I guess Dr. Gloria. We love Dr. Ruby also. We love all the admin. You know, we just do. I mean, we love watching what's going on and all that. Dr. A, fantastic. Cynthia, you're a sweetheart. You're a godsend. That's just really incredible. Okay, so we've got a beautiful family. We've got 2 children, 2 grandchildren, and we love them to death. And we're gonna start helping people. We're gonna start telling them all about this. We're gonna learn to travel some more and do that stuff all around the United States. We're gonna live life. We're gonna live longer. And I can't wait to meet you, all of you, and be traveling around with my great partner in life, my wife, Linda. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And have a great day.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.